So it's also helpful to have a shorter statement or a slogan that summarizes the 5 purposes of your life in a way that's memorable and inspires you. Because slogans are wonderful cult thought-stopping techniques, highly used in the 12-step cults, which we obviously can tell Rick Warren is heavily influenced by. So Solomon advised it will be good to keep these things in mind so you are ready to repeat them. Yeah, these things from Solomon did not equal Rick Warren's teachings. Nice try, dude. So he gives a few examples of these slogans, and I'll just read you one. It's, my life purpose is to be a member of Christ's family, a model of his character, a minister of his grace, a messenger of his word, and a magnifier of his glory, and not be myself in any meaningful way at all. Yes, because you have so much purpose in being a slave, in being a cult follower. There is nothing redeeming about this book. You may wonder, what about God's will for my job or marriage or where I'm supposed to live or go to school? Honestly, these are secondary issues in your life. Oh yeah, because who you marry doesn't have any effect on anything. What matters most, on that whole list of things that matter most, is that you fulfill God's, Rick's, eternal purposes regardless of where you live or work or whom you marry. Still think Rick Warren gives a shit about happiness? Still think he actually cares what God's will for your life is? No. It doesn't matter what God's will for your life is. Those are secondary issues. What matters is that you follow the teachings of this book, no matter how shitty your life is. Yeah, this is not Christian doctrine. This is heresy. I really hope people realize that. Stop supporting a cult leader just because he calls himself a Christian. You freaking morons. At the end of your life, it isn't going to matter at all what other people say about you, because he doesn't care about people. Remember, he only cares about, God himself. He says, the Bible says our purpose is to please God, not people. Yet our purpose from this book appears to be to please Rick Warren. I have a feeling this book would be a lot more honest if you take a pen and edit everywhere it says God and replace it with the word Rick. I have a feeling it'll be more accurate. About 30 years ago, I noticed a little phrase in Acts 13:36 that forever altered the direction of my life. Non-biblical scholar, non-theologian Rick Warren had his life changed by randomly reading a verse in the Bible. Generation. Now I understood why God called David a man after my own heart. I love the causal link that he puts there when there is none. Because I could equally say from 2 Samuel 11:14-15, in the morning David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it with Uriah. In it he wrote, put Uriah in the front line where the fighting is fiercest, then withdraw from him so he will be struck down and die. Now I understood why God called David a man after my own heart. See how I could do that, Ricky? It has just as much meaning as what you did. David dedicated his life to fulfilling God's purposes on earth and killing Bathsheba's husband so he could fuck her more. So remember when he said a page ago, actually 2 paragraphs ago, that at the end of your life, it isn't going to matter at all what other people say about you. Well, here now he says that it is his prayer that people will be able to say that about him when he dies. So it doesn't matter what they say about you when you die, but it does matter what they say about Rick when he dies. Special pleading. This phrase is the ultimate definition of a life well lived, serving God's purposes in your generation. You do the eternal and timeless, God's purpose, in a contemporary and timely way, your generation. But see, here's the problem I have. This, like I said, is not a book about God's purposes for your life. This is a book about Rick Warren's purposes for your life. So taking a Bible verse about David serving God's purposes in his generation and trying to say that this means that you need to serve Rick Warren's purposes in your generation is just more heresy. When fulfilling your purposes seems tough, don't give in to discouragement. Remember your reward, which will last forever. If you happen to be one of the elected, Remember, he's a Calvinist. And remember, the Bible actually says, what is it, Ephesians 2:8? By grace you are saved, not by works, so that no man may boast. Fulfilling Rick's 5 purposes for your life has nothing to do with your entry into heaven, despite his attempt to equate them. Blasphemy! This is worse blasphemy than anything I've said. Day 40, we made it. Point to ponder. Living with purpose is the only way to really live, says the guy who directly profits, benefits, and gains power and influence from you following his purposes for your life. Verse to remember. For David served the purpose of God in his own generation. Acts 13:36, which has nothing to do with you. Question to consider. When will I take the time to write down my answers to life's 5 great questions? These aren't life's 5 great questions. These are Rick Warren's cult questions. So, never. When will I put my purpose on paper? Never, you douche. Everybody on YouTube, we made it. I'll have a summary video up soon. But, great and godless days, okay? Peace.